Hey everybody, welcome back. Northernlion plays The Binding of Isaac AFTERBIRTH Plus, where we're closing in on a double-digit streak. And we've had some goofy runs lately, so I feel good about that. STE7, W3J4. A truly cursed start. However, there is one bright spot. Okay, I'm offended. I'm offended we took damage there. There is one pseudo bright spot. In theory, black powder. At least, we don't have a great speed stat, but at least it allows us to maybe do some damage that would otherwise be out of the normal bounds for our expectations. We also, I mean, I can't deny that we do have the toaster, also known as not the toaster. It's, I don't know if this is a thing that makes sense to people that are maybe like 10 years younger than me, because it barely makes sense to me. But at motels back in the I would say maybe the 50s to the 1980s or 1990s. Hotels sometimes used to have vibrating beds. I know that sounds crazy, and you could divine the purpose for yourself, I'm sure. Yeah, for personal massage use, you got it. But many times in a movie or a television program, you would see people go to a hotel, and then, you know, somebody would put a quarter into a coin slot on the side of the bed. I'm not joking. And then the bed for like 5 minutes would go like... I do think I prefer the bean, unfortunately. I know it sounds absurd. I mean, thinking about it now, it kind of is absurd. The idea that, I mean, first off, that you would, in 1975, that you would pay a quarter for 5 minutes of mechanical vibration. Like, I'm just thinking about the purchasing power on that. I'm pretty sure that that's like paying $1 for it now. Seems, maybe even more. That's 50 years ago now that I think about it, 1970. Either way, it's bizarre. It seems like it's from a different time. There's no denying that. And I guess it is from a different time. But these are things like I don't know if I've ever experienced or seen a vibrating bed for myself. And I've stayed in my fair share of hojos. And I'm not talking about the Disc 2 boss, who was the Surgeon General at the Shinra Corporation in Final Fantasy VII. I've stayed at some drive-in Howard Johnsons in my day. I've stayed at some Super 8s, I've stayed at some Motel 6s, I've stayed at some Days Inns. I think it's from a different time. And I think about that, I was thinking about that yesterday. I was like, man, so like, I'm young, and I recognize that I talk about my age a lot, but I mean, I know I'm young, you know, I'm 31, almost 32, maybe even, well, definitely 32 by the time this video comes out. But still, I think about, like, the generational hangover that sometimes we have. Because, like, I was thinking about the fact that in elementary school, I was, and I think we're just gonna go, even though there is that tinted rock, we might be able to buy a bomb and then blow it up, but I think I'm gonna save our key in case we don't get one on the next floor. But I was thinking about, like, the generational hangover. You know? And, like, even though we're alive in 2020, it's not really, like if you took the derivative of where the average person is at, I mean, for each kind of person, you're gonna get, like, a different example, right? Like, when I talk to my parents, it's not that my parents are not modern, you know, people. They're modern in the sense that they're, you know, in their mid to late 50s. And yet, they take care of themselves well. You know, they very much look like modern 50-somethings. They're in good shape. Better shape than me, to be honest, for sure. Now, they do have a little bit more time on their hands, but I'm not trying to hold that against them. It's not a competition, necessarily. But still, when I talk to them, I do sometimes feel like they're in, like, the mid-2000s, you know? And I don't think that's so bad. When I talk to, or when I see Zoomers talking that maybe, like, let's say they were born in, like, 2002, I'm like, you guys aren't in 2020, you guys are in, like, 2040 already. I don't know who's actually in 2020, and I know it sounds weird, but trying to explain myself, like what kind of person is actually most emblematic of the current times that we live in. I don't have an answer for you. Obviously I want it to be me, but I don't think that's true necessarily. We need to live through this room. This is very important. That was potentially going to murder us. I felt every, like, nerve in my body fire at the same time. So who needs a vibrating bed? But I was like, okay, like hear me out here, alright? I was born in the late 1980s. I went to elementary school in the mid-1990s. That seems now like, hey, it's a long time ago. But at the same time, you also have to consider that on top of going to school in the mid-1990s for elementary school, the teachers that I had, like, I had 60-year-old teachers. Let's do it. I had 60-year-old teachers in 1995. So they were born in 1935. So some of my, like, most instructive years, those, like, formative elementary school years, I was getting, I wouldn't say a 1935 mindset, but if they were born in 1935, they were, you know, going to elementary school in the 1940s, which is crazy to think about, right now at least. So they're going to elementary school in the 1940s. And then, sorry, I gotta follow this to its logical conclusion. Their teachers were born in, like, maybe like the freaking 1890s or something, which is insanity. And you just, basically, I'm trying to, we're always, I can't tell if we're on, like, a lagging effect, or if we're on a leading effect, where we're living ahead of the times instead of behind them, or if, like, if it's all screwed up, yeah, and everybody's different. I guess everybody's different is kind of the easy cop-out answer, but I've been thinking about that lately for sure. You know, I think we live in an era of rapid change. Things change very quickly. And there have probably been other times like this in human history for sure. You know, I'm sure, like, in 1938, you know, it's not like looking back through the lens of hindsight, you're like, I can see the seeds of the Second World War coming to pass. But if you were, like, you know, 17 and in your senior year of high school in Manitoba, you were probably like, 1938's pretty sick. Then 1939 happened and you were like, oh no. Times are changing. This is definitely true. But I always think about the fact that just because it's 2020 doesn't mean, like, your brain's living in 2020. Like, I think my brain is still sort of trapped in maybe, like, 2010, I honestly think is where I'm living. Obviously, like, you know, my attitude has changed, my, you know, priorities in life have changed. Like, I've got different values as a human being. But I think if you took an honest year that my brain still thinks it is, it's probably like 2010. Like, I think if you could put me under, like, truth serum or something like that, I don't know if this is how truth serum works, because this is a lie, but, and you were like, how many years ago did you graduate from college? I'd be like, 4 years ago. Nah, dude, it's been like over 10 years now. Not quite 11, but over 10. It's pretty crazy to think about. I'm not, like, self-conscious about it at all either. I'm just thinking about the fact that, like I'm now definitely at an age where I'm like, man, my teachers were frickin' old. Now, here's a spicy one for you. Like, I'm kind of losing my mind that I was, like, my second grade teacher might have been born in, like, 1930. No, that would probably like 1945 to 1955. That's crazy, man. Because now, like, if I met someone who was born in 1945, I would be like, you're 10 years younger than my grandma. But, like, you get what I mean. I would also be, like, if my grandma was an elementary school teacher at her age, I would be like, you gotta retire, grandma. This is crazy. You're still teaching them shorthand. They don't even need to know longhand anymore. It's all computers these days, granny. So we don't have a typewriter class? We don't have a typewriter class anymore. I'm sorry, okay? Kids are learning C++ in the second grade. And C sharp in kindergarten. Am I right? Because it's a better language. It's more, you know, I would say it's easier to understand and parse, and it's written with some modern conveniences. Sometimes people, in my opinion, confuse convenience for a lack of like specialization in terms of the tools. I disagree. I think sometimes as programmers, people can confuse the idea of you know, esoteric code for good code. I don't think that's always the case. Just because something has to have a ternary operator in it, that doesn't necessarily mean you're a PhD candidate. You know, sometimes it would be better to just write that on 2 lines, is my opinion. But hey, you know, we don't need to get into this. My programming takes always, especially when I make a joke out of it, I'm reminded that there's a reason most computer programmers didn't go into comedy, and the reason is money. But the secondary reason is that you can't take a joke about programming. Programmers are not, I would say they're a little sensitive sometimes about, especially if a non-enterprise level programmer tells a joke. Like, you poke a little fun at them, you know, and you're like, hey, this will create camaraderie. I poke a little fun at you, you poke a little fun at me. And then they go, well, it sounds like the school that you went to sucked and your education was a big waste of money. And I go, I don't want to play with you anymore, Woody. Anyway. Moving on. It wasn't a big waste of money. Education in Canada is pretty cheap. For the, well, it depends. I don't know. That's kind of, I mean, I'll admit that's a take that's steeped in privilege to some extent. It's cheap compared to America, and, you know, central to the Canadian personality is comparing yourself to the United States when it's favorable, and then to other countries in the world when it's not favorable. Anyway, moving on. It's a Thursday today. Kind of a weird Thursday for me because I'm taking the day off from streaming, which rarely happens, but that's because I got 2 kind of like unexpected streams that are happening on Friday, and you know, in the pre-baby times, definitely would have just, you know, put my nose to the grindstone and gotten it done, but it's really like, it just can't be done now. Which is, and I say that not with like a shrug of resignation, but rather like, this is a positive thing, you know? Where I'm, previously when I've had to like get some extra work done, it's been like, you know, working through molasses or working through jello or trying to like sprint underwater, right? Like it's not, you got a lot to work against, and if you ever stop, you lose that momentum. But it is possible. Like if you had to run a mile in a swimming pool, you could do it. Probably be pretty tired by the end of it, and it would take you, I don't know, like 100 times longer than it would to run a mile in the terrestrial world. So we'll just move on here. But you could do it. Now I'm hitting a brick wall. You just can't smash through it. And I think it's good to have found that limit. And honestly, like as much as I do like work, I have found something that's more fulfilling than knocking out, you know, an 8-episode backlog in Isaac. It's called knocking out a 4-episode backlog in Isaac and then spending an hour like staring my daughter in the face and going, oh, and then once every 10 times she goes, oh, and I go, what? You're a genius. So I'm happy to be able to have the ability to dedicate more time to that. There's big positives right now. It's been good. It's been good. But definitely like, you know, we're in a weird period for YouTube and Twitch. It's like weird good. We're playing chess. We're playing Slasher's Keep. Isaac, you know, it's funny we've had all this thumbnail discourse lately. Drac is a legend. Dracula Fetus is the artist that does any cartoon thumbnail you see is done by Dracula Fetus. Let's put it that way. Any thumbnail you see that's garbage was probably made by me very hastily. We are very different on an artistic standpoint. Let's put it that way because they have talent and I do not. But anyway. No, that's not fair. They also have skill where I do not. But regardless, For all the discourse we've had on thumbnails, people were like, you shouldn't have to. I resent the fact that you have to, like, mix up your thumbnails in order to get views. I just would. This was all for, like, ones with my face in the thumbnail. As soon as Isaac got a couple of new thumbnails, the view count temporarily doubled. So, you know, it just... Let's just say I was right for the wrong reasons with my approach, and I'm happy we found something that maybe the community is a little bit more copacetic with, a little bit more receptive to, and we can move on as a result of that. Spelunky 2 also is like, the view count for something like Spelunky 2, it's always going to decline, you know? The game is always gonna, for any game that's a known quantity at least, like, it's gonna peak sometime around launch. I know you're probably going like, well, you know, I didn't watch for the first 40 episodes because of spoilers. Look, I respect that, and that's your prerogative. I'd never try to steer you away from that if that's what you value, but I do think that is a minority for sure. I think most people are like, oh, this game looks cool. I immediately want to know everything about it based on the view counts of series from other YouTubers where it's like, Day 1, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, ending cutscene, ending explained, you know? But, the view count will always sort of be on a decline, but I'm actually stunned at, like, how evergreen Spelunky 2 has been. I think it's a testament to the design of that game that it's, like... It's so... let me put it this way. I'm still compelled to watch other people play it when I get a chance. And then secondarily, okay, that doesn't work, huh? Secondarily, alongside that, I'm always stunned, like, how good a bad episode of Spelunky 2 is. Like, you can have an episode where you just don't do well. That happens, I don't know, maybe, like, every third day or something like that. Maybe a couple times a week. But the average loss is still hilarious because of the numbers of ways that it happens and the fact that it always seems to strike, at least for me, in a moment of pure hubris where I'm like, I don't mean to brag because I know that it's gone wrong in the past, but there's very little that could dunk, 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 and then you're just dead, you know? No arcade. It's fine. I didn't want a stinky arcade anyway. Who cares about a stinky arcade? How did that not poison you? How did that not poison you? Anyway, long story short, it's been good, but we're definitely doing some experimentation. Thank you, by the way, if you're watching this. Thanks for all the support on the chess series. I was, I think we're gonna do both. I was openly kind of wary of chess, just because I knew that the backseating potential will be high. Doing it on YouTube is absolutely the right decision. And the analysis tools provided by online chess services have just blown me away. So I realized that, like, I would say like 75% of the people watching chess like to watch the moment-to-moment chess and the thought process, but like 95% of the people watching the chess series are there for the moment at the end where you go to analysis and realize where the streamer did everything wrong. It's beautiful. Apart from that, like, it's been a pretty low-key sort of week over here. Just busy, cooking, eating. You know how it is. Cooking and eating. Just enjoying, that's not a second secret room, huh? Just enjoying kind of, I mean, I don't want to say like I'm enjoying the holidays, because it's like a really weird holiday season. I think everybody's pretty aware of that. But at the same time, it's been like, it's been fun, you know? It's been kind of, you know how it goes. That's all I got. I mean, yeah, again, the anecdotes, I'm waiting for later newborn and toddler anecdotes. I will say, you know, we had our first, I would say, like, I don't know if I would call it a harrowing experience. We had our first experience with vaccinating our daughter. yesterday. So for anybody that's unfamiliar, at least this is the way it works in BC. I'm not sure about anywhere else in the world. You know, you might get a different cocktail, but you get like 4 vaccines at 2 months old. You get like some kind of diphtheria, some kind of like hepatitis vaccine, some kind of pneumonia vaccine, and one of those has like 6 different immunizations in one. And then there's like a stomach flu one that you can that they also get, which is administered like just via this like sugary syrup. I've seen, I don't know who's filming this, by the way, but I've seen videos of kids getting vaccinated, and it's like they turn purple or like crimson and they cry, and you know, it's one of those things that it's kind of hard to understand until you're in it, I think, which I know is not, it's something that parents always say that's really annoying to non-parents. I know because I only flipped from one group to the other recently. I only recently changed allegiances. Oh, and now we're talking. Why was that so crisp? Telepills. No, I need the bone heart. Don't make me say my bone heart. But they say, you know, you could only understand it once you have a kid. But like, this was definitely true. Like, I've taken, you know, my cats to the vet and had them immunized, or, you know, get a medical procedure done where they're like not happy, and your heart goes out to them. But like, I felt genuine anxiety, genuine nerves. Oh, let's go. Like, I was tense when this baby was about to be vaccinated. And then, like, the first one was not so bad. I would say she reacted, like, better than expected. The second one, she reacted pretty well. The third one, her face turned from an oval into a square. Like, her jaw got 2 right angles on it. And she opened her mouth to scream. But she screamed, like, with such incredible volume that no sound came out for a second. I was like, oh no. And then she turned crimson, and like her body temperature felt like it rose by like 8 degrees, but she got over it. I'm very proud of her. But it's surprisingly like hard, and especially they're like, you know, she might get a fever tomorrow, but like just give her some baby Tylenol. And I was like, are you insane? You're giving my baby a shot that's gonna give her a fever? And then you want me to give her some medicine? What are you, a monster? Like, not in an anti-vax sort of way, because it is, you know, very much not who I am. By the way, I was watching The Masked Singer last night for the first time ever. People, what is it? Why Jenny McCarthy? Like, I just have to ask, like, why does she, like, you could, there's any number of, like, talentless hacks you could have judge, singers on an American reality TV show. Why does it have to be Jenny McCarthy? You know? I'm sorry, it's very judgmental, but she has set back, like, the study of epidemiology by, like, 70 years. I mean, if she's allowed to have strong opinions on things that are, you know, medicine, which, spoilers, not her area of expertise, I think I'm allowed to have strong opinions about entertainment, which I've dabbled in the past. Anyway, long story short, don't like that lady very much. Also, don't really find her charismatic. Don't really understand the draw. But anyway, regardless. Like Jim Carrey, I know he's dabbled in, you know, some troubling philosophies. I would never say, like, oh, live and let live. But he did also do The Mask. All I'm saying is that Jenny McCarthy, she hasn't even done The Truman Show. You know, she did, I don't know, MTV's version of, like, Wild On or something like that. Like, come on. You can't find a less problematic Jenny McCarthy analog out there? Anyway, regardless. But it was like, you know, the idea that you're giving your baby a vaccine, but that there might be, like, a temporary consequence that for you yourself, like if the doctor was like, yeah, I don't know, you might get a fever, but if you get a fever, just take a Tylenol. I'd be like, yeah, of course, stop wasting my time. I know this. You know, even if a doctor gave me a shot and was like, I don't know, there's like a 1% chance your foot will fall off, I'd be like, come on, I gotta get out of here before the traffic picks up, you know? But that doctor was like, just so you know, there's like a 0.00001% chance that your baby might be slightly uncomfortable. And I'm like, listen here, okay? This is unacceptable. This child shall never face consequences or side effects at all. We only have 2 keys. That's the bummer. Okay. So here's what we're gonna do. We haven't had a book yet. This is a weird one. We just want more keys. I think we got to get to the shop. We're gonna get some more keys. I also apologize for the rude things I said about Jenny McCarthy. Not because I said rude things, but because her opinions and outspokenness have led me to have a rude opinion of her. So I apologize for that. Let's meet halfway, and I can go back to forgetting you exist, and you know, you're never gonna know that I exist in the first place, but if we could just both keep our mouths shut, it's probably like a slight net good for society. We're gonna take there's options, but we're going heavy on the reroll here. Wow, NL. So brave. Going after Jenny McCarthy. Reddit's favorite punching bag. Wait, we want keys! Okay, three keys? 3 keys is fine. I'm just saying. You ever, like, I'm not the biggest fan of Ken Jeong. I don't mind him. I actually think he's very funny, but also a little bit like after The Hangover, he's kind of slipped into that. He's like the same sort of guy in every piece of work that he's involved in. Which is fine, you know, I'm the same sort of guy in every piece of work that I'm involved in as well. Let's take Book of Shadows. I think this is going to benefit us here. But do you ever think, like, Ken Jeong is on The Masked Singer and, like, they're taking, because he's another host/judge. You ever think they're, like, taking a little lunch break or something like that? Like, craft services comes out with some tiny sandwiches, and you're like, do you have any, like, ham? And they're like, no, all we have is pear and gorgonzola. And you're like, oh, I hate California. And then Jenny McCarthy just says something that's ridiculous. Because, like, Ken Jeong is, like, an actual doctor. Surely there has to have been times backstage at The Masked Singer where she was talking about something that she didn't have any knowledge in at all. And Ken Jeong was just like, yeah, come on, Ken, just keep your mouth shut. This is the best job. It's literally celebrities get on stage wearing a costume and sing a song, and then 3 times per half hour they cut to you and you go, I think it's Mickey Rourke. I would kill for that job, so I don't blame him. But you know he's gone home sometimes and been like, I can't stand another day of listening. I don't know, maybe she's very nice in person and only publicly destructive with her beliefs. Anyway, regardless, moving on. We've taken the Polaroid. Oh, you know what? We got enough to let it ride. This is a let it ride situation for me. Yeah, it's pretty good. I think even Dark Prince's Crown is gonna work. It is gonna work. Bone Hearts, they count for some things and don't count for others, but they definitely counted for this. Let's move along here. I really don't like to, I mean, I've talked about this before. I know it's not what people want to hear. I'm not the world's smartest man, okay? I think one of my greatest traits is that, and really this is along with the surprisingly high ethanol tolerance, the lasting legacy of my undergraduate degree in biology is a respect for the process of science and knowledge that I really didn't have when I was in high school. In high school, you know, even though I was a good student, I guess I kind of functioned under the naive belief that, like, you know, when it came to science, it was oftentimes just a lot of, like, brainstorming an idea and then being like, maybe it works, and then you do one experiment and you're like, wow, it did, you know, and I think there's stories like that in scientific history, but there's also a lot of, like, you know, like clawing at the outside edge of the bounds of our knowledge, and then, you know, getting just the slightest bit of sunlight peeking through, and then pulling at that until you got a whole beam of photons, and then harnessing that and taking that to, like, it's incremental progress that's worked very hard for. And that requires, you know, standing on the shoulders of giants. You know, it requires the foundational knowledge of smarter people that came before you, and hopefully smarter people that will come after you as well. So this is a long way of saying that I may not be smart, but I'm at least smart enough to trust people smarter than me in things that they're experts at. Which is why there's only like 2 things that people see as controversial that I talk about as if they're exclusively like non-controversial, because I'm offended to consider it otherwise. One is climate change. The other one is vaccinations. There's probably others. I guess, like, if you wanted to be technical, you would maybe be like, what about flat Earth? Okay, you know, you got me. I also, but then you might be like, come on, don't compare flat Earth to climate change. And I'm like, But let's leave it at that. I already know, I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, how many people watch these videos on average? And then I'm like, what percentage of people are going to believe in this stuff? And then I'm like, maybe it's my solemn duty to talk about it, maybe it's not. Anyway, regardless, I'm pretty stoked that I don't have polio. That's generally like my take on the subject. I am pretty stoked I don't have polio. But we can move on from there. It's crazy to think about, like, I tweeted this yesterday, and I stand by this. Can you imagine, like, put yourself in the shoes of a baby. Oftentimes don't wear shoes right away, but just, like, I mean the metaphorical shoes of a baby. Imagine you're a baby. So to give you a feel for it, in case you don't recall what it was like, which is very fair, my daughter spends, say, like, close to 10 hours a day in the crib, on and off. You know, at night she stays in for maybe, like, you know, 6 hours, and then another, like, 2 hours at the start and 2 hours at the end of that, kind of tagged on, depending on whether, you know, Kate and I have to take a nap in order to stay afloat during the day. She spends much of the rest of the day, on an average day, staring at any variety of, you know, household lights, shelves, cabinets, ceilings, etc., looking into our eyes, and so on and so forth. So essentially, she's become very acquainted with the decor in the bedroom, and she's become very acquainted with the decor in our living room. Now, with the stage set, can you imagine what must be going through a baby's head? And I know that the technical answer is like, well, they're not capable of, like, thinking, but imagine they were, okay? What must be going through a baby's head when you wheel them outside in the crib and a seagull flies by? You don't think, like, that would blow your mind the first time you saw a bird? Like, don't get me wrong, she's seen the Cats. Not the movie, because it's rated R. So she, on some level, she's aware of the idea that, like, okay, I know things that look like human beings exist, and then there's also things that look like cats. And then there's, like, you know, there's at least 4 human beings on the planet. There's Dad, there's Mom, there's Grandma. She has met Grandpa, but Grandpa went home a couple of weeks ago. I'm not sure if he exists in the memory banks right now. And she's aware that the doctor exists. That's pretty much it. And then maybe the guy who hosts Bloomberg at 6 a.m. when the market's open. So she, right now, that's like the 5th most important person in her life. But can you imagine having that be the narrowness of your worldview? and then going outside and seeing, like, I know you have no concept of this as an infant, but 500 feet above you, seeing like a soaring bird, that would be crazy. It would be insanity. I can't even imagine what goes through her head when she sees like a bird. Because like even a car, you know, she's been in a car. I'm not sure if she, and by not sure I mean she definitely has no cognizance of the fact that like when she sees other cars, that's like what she's inside of at that time. But a bird is like, everything you've seen in your life has been like walking, or, you know, walking on 2 legs, walking on 4 legs. Then all of a sudden you're like, you know, Mom, Dad, you're not gonna believe this. You are not gonna believe what I just saw. Get this. You know cats? Yeah, I've heard of them. You know cats? Well, cats, you're familiar with cats? Well, check this out. Imagine a cat, but it had 2 big arms coming off of it, and get this. Where was it walking? It was walking in the freaking sky. Anyway, I think you get what I was getting at. Sorry, I had to check something real quick. You get my point. You take my point. It's very, like, one of the things that is, like, philosophically, I guess, struck me about having a baby is the reminder that, like, so much of the information that we take for granted actually had to be learned, right? Obviously, like, if a 30, it doesn't matter the age, but if an adult came up to me and was like, hey, do you know, like, birds exist? I would be like, you just getting outside of your, like, nuclear bunker or something? That's because birds are a made-up conspiracy. I know. No, I know you spend too much time online, okay? And Finland doesn't exist. Nokia is a made-up corporation. Or if you die in Canada, you die in real life. Okay, good. Now, can we proceed with the conversation as if we were adults here? But, like, as a baby, you gotta learn, like, everything, dude. I know, like, it's obvious, but at the same time, isn't that also amazing? Like, just to be, and I'm not trying to say everybody is you know, living at the peak of their capabilities right now. Obviously, 2020 has thrown an extra monkey wrench into that to begin with. But just to be, like think of the worst adult you know. Just to be that bad at being a human being requires, like, a couple of decades of learning 500 new things a day. That's insane. Like, you have to learn even, like, I know this, again, it sounds silly, but you have to learn, like, how to learn. That's wild, man. It's kind of been, it's been messing with me. Not in a bad way, just in a way that, like, I'm starting to, well, you know what? To be honest with you, I'm starting to have, like, an appreciation for my own intelligence. Not even that, again, I'm that intelligent, but rather just like, man, there's, like, a lot of input went into this, you know? It took a lot of time. Just to be this ignorant. Like, we're teaching her, you know, like, basic sounds to make and stuff like that. And they're like, man, you can't even be like, hello. Because, you know, just to learn hello, first she has to learn how to make any sound. She has to learn how to make the O sound, which is relatively easy. She has to learn how to make the E sound, which is kind of easy. She has to learn how to make the L sound, which she's been doing a good job of by accident. But I don't even know how you're going to teach a newborn how to say H. Like, how are you going to teach that sound? Hello. Anyway, for now, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed the episode today. If you did, click the like button. That helps out a great deal. And, of course, subscribe if you want to get more notifications of my videos in your inbox. For now, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. See ya!